Hey guys, DB Rai here, and today I'm actually going to be starting a brand new What If series. This time, a Friday the 13th What If. Yes, as in the horror movie franchise. I've actually been wanting to do this for quite a while, and since I've been sick, I haven't come up with any more Dragon Ball What If scenarios or any continuations for the Dragon Ball What Ifs I've already done on the channel, and I do apologize for that. As you guys know, I've been sick, and yeah, I just haven't been able to come up with anything since. But hopefully I'll be able to get that back on track soon, and hopefully you guys will enjoy a Friday the 13th What If in the meantime, and hopefully we'll have more of these coming as well. More content for this channel of mine. And well, this is What If Alice Survived? And well, let's get started. It had been 2 months since that terrible Friday the 13th, where Alice was the sole survivor of the original rampage caused by Pamela Voorhees, the mother of Jason Voorhees, the boy who drowned back in 1957. And well, Alice having nightmares, reliving that whole terrible night. Reliving Pamela Voorhees chasing her around, trying to kill her, and all of Alice's attempts to escape, and ultimately foiled Pamela Voorhees being able to find her and track her down, eventually leading them to the lake itself, where Alice, having a battling sort of wrestling match with Pamela Voorhees, the killer, and able to get away from her long enough to grab the machete and behead Mrs. Voorhees right then and there on the spot, and ultimately trying to escape from the place in a little canoe boat where she basically fell asleep till the next morning, just as the police arrived. Just when she thought she was safe, being dragged down by Jason Voorhees himself, who sprung up from the lake to drag her under. Suddenly, she awakes from the nightmare. As she awakens, startled, as if Mrs. Voorhees, or perhaps Jason, was in the room with her. However, she is spooked even further when the phone suddenly begins to ring. It is, of course, her mother on the phone, asking her when she's coming back, when is she going to give up this foolishness, Alice insisting that this was the only way she'd ever get over the fear, the terror that had befalled her those last couple of months, returning to the area of Crystal Lake, getting closure, getting over the fear. Well, after the unpleasant conversation was done, she takes a shower, only to be quickly interrupted by sudden noises in the house, as if someone were moving around inside. Like footsteps, things being moved. It was enough to get Alice to get out of the shower and began looking around and investigating. The creepy sounds were scary and terrifying, to the point where Alice had to pick up the ice pick. And after being startled by a cat, however, she maintained her grip on the ice pick, not dropping her guard. After all, this was Crystal Lake. She opens the fridge, surprised to find the head of Mrs. Voorhees there in the fridge, and Jason grabbing her from behind. However, this wouldn't go like it did in the original movie in Friday the 13th Part 2. Alice still had the ice pick in her hand, and she was jabbing at Jason, jabbing as much as she can, until eventually Jason Voorhees was forced to let go, and Alice made a run for it, and to her escape, getting into her car and driving away from it. driving as fast as she could. From that moment, Alice knew this nightmare would never be over unless she did something about it herself. If she went to the police, they'd just say she was crazy. Jason Voorhees had drowned back in 1957, they would say, just like they did before, back during the original incident. In a way, there was really no decision. Alice would decide to train herself. She would make herself stronger than she ever was. She would make herself an expert of survival. She would learn how to defend herself properly. She would learn how to survive out here, just like Jason Voorhees would be able to. Just like a true camp counselor. After that night, Alice simply disappeared, went off the grid, learning from many experts, anyone who could train her, anyone who could teach her how to survive in the woods properly, how to defend herself, give her any tools necessary that she can use against Jason. And to the point, months became years. For now, peace had seemingly returned to Camp Crystal Lake. There had been no reports of any other incidents. And well, Paul had decided to locate his headquarters somewhere in the outskirts of the area. The place where he would train people to become camp counselors, teaching them all the tricks of the trade. And of course, this would mean Ginny's arrival as well. And well, things began. They would discuss many activities they would do, everything they would need to know to be camp counselors, so they could be mentors to the kids they would have to watch in their own camps, whether they would be in charge of local camps around Crystal Lake or in some other county somewhere else. It didn't matter. Either way, this was a training facility for camp counselors. And, well, after getting more into the activities, Paul decided that he would at least share the entire secrets of Camp Blood and Jason Voorhees, the whole legend and the rumor that had been passed down, just to get it out of their system so no one would actually go looking for the old campsite. And, of course, Camp Blood, also known as Camp Crystal Lake, was indeed off limits ever since that last incident where Pamela Voorhees went on a rampage. Yes. And there Paul stood, telling his little campfire story, all about how the legend went, how Jason Voorhees was just a boy who drowned in 1957, and that her mother went on a murderous rampage, and that Jason somehow witnessed his mother's beheading and went after the camp counselor who killed her mother, and that Alice disappeared. No one knows what has happened to her. And well, after Rick decided to jump out of nowhere, dressing up as Jason and scaring everybody, it was time to put an end to the joke, just get it out of their system, and that Camp Crystal Lake was off limits. Of course, this fell onto deaf ears with some of those teenagers when two of them decided to pay visit to the old campsite and were ultimately caught by one of the police officers in charge, who was later murdered himself by the maniac, Jason Voorhees. The second victim of Jason's rampage, poor old man Ralph, who was murdered the night before, trying to warn these new kids to leave Camp Blood immediately. Well, later that night, Paul decided that, as a final treat, his counselors should have one more night in the town before they started the real hard work tomorrow in learning how to be camp counselors. A few, of course, decided to stay back at the campsite, and of course, the two who wandered into Camp Blood earlier were punished and forced to stay back while everyone else got to have a good time on the town, getting a little drunk and, partying like they do, as Ginny and Paul would discuss the legend of Jason Voorhees. Further, trying to put it into real terms. What if there really is a Jason out there, Ginny would say. And well, Paul, of course, being the naysayer he was, truly believing that Jason Voorhees was just a legend, well, needless to say, they might be in for quite the surprise when they return to the campsite, because Jason had killed again, killing a young man who was, dare I say, playing flirty games with one of the girls. Yes, got himself caught in a basic trap dangling from a tree. Well, that didn't stop Jason from coming up to him and murdering him with a machete. And as Terry, the girl that the young man was playing games with, decided to come back and free him, she screams, seeing his mangled body there. Jason, right there before her, about to come in and make the kill, when suddenly he is attacked. He is fired upon by a rifle shot, 3 bullets in the chest, and he goes down. And who is this that rescued Terry from her fate? From the fate that she would have had, from the same fate that she suffered in the original movie? It is Alice. Alice, who hadn't been seen in years, was before them and rescued them. And rescued Terry. Now together they begin to run. Is there anyone else with you? Alice asked. Yes, there's a whole bunch of us in the main hall. Together, Alice and Terry begin making their way back to the main hall, back to the campsite, before Jason could strike again. We better hurry up before he comes to. But you shot him. Surely he'd be dead after all that. No, not this guy. And well, needless to say, meanwhile back in the hall, Jason Voorhees, having fleeing Alice, did manage to find his way to the main hall, and began his vicious rampage. Mark, the young man on the wheelchair, was the first to go, copping an unexpected machete to the face, rolling down the stairs to his death. Jason Voorhees' rampage didn't stop there, for the young girl who liked Mark was next, followed by the duo who ventured towards Camp Crystal Lake earlier on in the story, being speared together by the very same spear that Rick was playing his little joke earlier the night before during the campfire story. By the time Alice and Terry got to the cabin, they had already seen the rampage and massacre for themselves, and decided the two would hide somewhere in the hall before Jason could find them. And well, Minutes passed, when suddenly Paul and Ginny arrived back from town, after having their little night out. And well, after looking about the house, they could tell something was wrong. The power was out. There were signs of struggle everywhere. Clearly, something has gone wrong. For Paul and Ginny knew their fellow counselors in training wouldn't do something like this. They wouldn't be playing a joke like this. And well, Ginny began to suspect that there's someone else in the room. And that became clear, for Jason made his sudden appearance and tried to attack Paul from behind, Ginny screaming, "There's someone else in the room!" And as Jason began his attack, this is where Alice and Terry sprung their own sort of trap and began attacking Jason with everything they had. Terry, who held in her hand a crowbar, while Alice herself was armed to the teeth with her rifle and a machete of her very own. They attacked Jason Voorhees, essentially taking him down and possibly out. And Paul and Ginny saved. They're able to get help and the police out there and escaped their terrible would-be fate. Ginny surviving, along with Paul and Terry and Alice. By the time the police searched the main hall, Jason Voorhees was no longer there to be found. And this would shock Alice. Alice herself has gone back into seclusion, while Paul, Ginny, and Terry are taken away by Alice, getting themselves checked out, and probably needing a fair bit of counselling. Our story concludes, at least for this part, with Jason Voorhees making his way back to his cabin, looking upon the shrine he built for his mother, staring at her head, listening to the voice in his head, the voice that would be his mother talking to him. "How dare you let them get away, Jason? Mother is disappointed in you. Don't let any of them live, Jason. Kill them all. Anyone who dares enter our woods. They don't belong here. Kill them all." And that's where we're going to leave things for right now, as we head into the events of Friday the 13th, Part 3.